Oh, mate.
What's wrong
The
with
Don
you?
doesn't sound happy there, does he?
You got to do better.
Sounds like someone's getting fired in there.
What the hell's wrong with you lot? Your levels are dropping.
It's Ty in there. Mate, I think Ty might be getting the old tic-tac.
That's just appalling.
What, out of the door?
Poor.
Getting the elbow, mate, yeah.
What, latest sunshine?
Yeah.
For good.
Hopefully. The Don's not happy.
Ty, you alright?
We're in a title race. You've got to be putting chances like that away.
Rocket Mobile gets you unlimited data, calls and texts for just £16 a month. Plus your invite into the Rocket Perks programs. It's the plan for the real fans.
Hi, I'm Dr. Andre from Oxford Natural. If you're looking to make a change, improve metabolism, energy, sleep, take Optimum Day and Optimum Night.
These have helped me so much in my weight loss journey. The Optimum Day helps you with your metabolism burn during the day, and the Optimum Night helps you to have a good night's sleep. These have been brilliant for me. And if you're interested,
Take our 90-day challenge.
click the link in the description and you can get 70% off with your first order.
Yes, everybody, welcome back to DL Sports. Welcome back to Live at 5. We're here on a Wednesday. The World Cup is just over 24 hours away, but club news is starting to filter through. Obviously, lots of transfer news coming out in the last 24 hours. We've got some madness going on in Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man United, all of that. And joining me to talk about it all on my left-hand side is Kenya.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm feeling a bit better than yesterday, I got to admit.
You look better than
yesterday, I was finished.
Yeah, your eye was a bit mad.
My eye was moving mad yesterday.
We can't say what you was doing, but...
Oh, suffering from hay fever. We know this is on
that's
the
what they
record.
all say, mate. That's what
Obviously,
they say. He was throwing hands.
James on my right-hand side as well. Second day in a row.
Yeah, how's it going, mate?
As I said, I'm doing a little bit better. But
No scraps today?
Yeah, no scraps so far.
Just the scraps and chips.
There's still what?
Don't worry,
There's still an hour to go, mate.
7 hours to go left
Maybe you
before
start trying to tell me Ronaldo's better than Messi. Maybe we'll start.
Cool.
Maybe the hands will start flying.
To be fair, I would have gone into that a bit more, you know, if it wasn't right at the end of the show. We started talking about that yesterday. Kai was moving a bit mad. But in the club world, it's come out today that Barcelona will not, according to reports in Spain, this is, Barcelona will not be activating their £26 million buy option to buy Marcus Rashford this summer. And I still can't get my head around this because...
Why?
Like, they spent 70 on Gordon, who isn't anywhere near as good as... Like, we're about to watch a World Cup where Marcus Rashford will start over Anthony Gordon, probably play well, and Barcelona are going, yeah, we'll drop 70 on the guy who's finished 13th in the Prem last season, but the guy who got 28 goal and assists for us, literally last campaign, £26 million? No.
That's the criminal part. If you take Anthony Gordon out of it, I hear it, because Rashford is no spring chicken, you know what I mean? They're not going to get a lot of great sell-on value, which is probably why they lean towards Anthony Gordon, because Anthony Gordon, in a few years, he's still going to be younger. He's still going to have a high on sell-on value. Maybe they presume that he's going to turn into some kind of world beater, but that's the caveat is Anthony Gordon, because I don't think he's a patch on Rashford right now, and I don't know what he's even going to get to as a player, because he doesn't seem like a player who has that much more of a ceiling for growth to me. He's a great workhorse. He's a great runner with the ball, but he's been extremely poor this year. Very, very poor, and I was surprised that they splashed that much money on him in the first place.
I think Anthony Gordon's a decent player, but I don't think he's necessarily... I mean, it may be proved wrong, because I remember when Newcastle first bought him 40 million from Everton, I was like, oh, I don't quite know what... Like, I don't know why you dropped 40 M's on the guy, because he was so hit and miss at Everton. But they did have a great little patch at Newcastle at one point as well. I think, was it... Not obviously season just gone, but the one before that. He was getting consistent. He was getting good. And then I remember that because even last season he's got, was it 10 Champions League goals, which is great, but didn't he score...
Sure,
6 in the league.
Yeah, but then like 4 of them were against Karabag or something.
Yeah, they
were.
were.
He scored like a hat-trick against Karabag, something like that.
Goals
So yeah, so it did feel a little bit inflated.
And he stat pads with the pens, as you said.
Yeah, and then I got
even
flamed.
in the league.
I got flamed on Twitter for saying that Anthony Gordon for £70 million makes our Mateus Cunha signing look better and better every day. And I got flamed online for that.
No, but I'd actually agree with that.
I agree.
Mateus Cunha's
Obviously,
better.
I do agree with it.
Mateus Cunha's better than Anthony Gordon.
Yeah.
Mate, even
But
makes Gyökeres look like a steal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
How much was Gyökeres in the
it
end?
was like 60,
60, 64.
Was it up above 6? Because I thought it was about 52 or something.
It was 58 with bonuses, like add-ons. which
Like
were
winning the
very
Premier
achievable,
League.
which was like winning the Prem.
Or like 20 goals or something.
Him getting like 10 goals for example. Like, that's why it's about, I want to say it's like 62 to 60.
Would have been 70 million if they won the Champions League, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But what is... Marcos Senesi has just been confirmed as the new signing for Tottenham, set to wear the number 5 shirt. So that's literally just come through as we're going live.
Yeah.
It's Bournemouth, and just because I wanted to spend a bit of time on this show talking about the transfer fees that we're going to be seeing this summer, because they are mad. Like, you look at the list of players that this summer, like I remember we spoke about yesterday quite at length about Elliot Anderson as one example of like £100 million player and that kind of stuff. But
I mean,
like,
that's
it's
criminal
I
to say.
think the
Elliot
transfer
Anderson,
window-
£100 million.
it's
Maybe
I
£10
think
million.
it's- You think he's worth £10 million?
He's certainly not worth £100 million. Let's be real here. I mean, the numbers are absolutely inflated to the max.
numbers are going
especially
crazy.
with the Premier League. When you're talking about these massive transfer wages or transfer budgets in terms of spending on players, you're looking at the Premier League clubs. The tax on it is ridiculous. But because the fact that a newly promoted Bournemouth side, when they were promoted, or newly promoted sides into the Premier League can compete with clubs in Europe like AC Milan, with Europa League football at the time, or even Champions League football, in terms of bidding for players, is, when you look at it, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. But is it a case of actually the quality in the Premier League is actually just worth that amount of money, or is it literally just clubs like trying to hold other clubs for ransom? Like, you've got, so I will use Bournemouth as an example. They're asking for, there was like 80 million-ish for Scott. They want like up to 90 million for Krupi. You got West Ham demanding, West Ham went down and are currently, they're an absolute mess and basket case of a club at the minute. They don't have at the moment, like the people that I'm hearing from Man United's side that it's actually hard for clubs to get in contact with people at West Ham because other clubs in the Premier League don't know who's meant to be negotiating deals at West Ham, and they're sat there just going £85 million for Mateus Fernandes.
Nuts, which is just insane. He's like 35 million, really, or 40 million.
That's what they signed him for, 40 million.
That's
Because
how
they
much
signed
he's
him
worth,
for 40 million from Southampton, who went down.
Yeah.
Now, they've gone, not saying that he's the reason they've gone down. He's probably been the best player in those
he's
squads
been their
both times
best
round.
player, probably.
But I think it's, but like one of the best players. But like, you're going down to the Championship. Does that mean that in theory, if no clubs pay up, that West Ham is saying we've got an £85 million player in the Championship?
Yeah.
Like, how much is Hayden Hackney worth? Like,
Exactly. But he's not worth 85 million. He's worth at least 40. At the very least, like,
yeah,
I just think.
But is it a case of
Or
like,
at the most,
are they worth of what the market dictates? Because some team is going to cough up over 60 for him.
Are they? Are they really?
Yeah.
Or are they going to wait till January and see what kind of position that West Ham are in? Because let's be real, relegation clauses are a real thing. And furthermore, if you don't get re-promoted at the first time of asking, that's when all of your players go walkabout. Because when we last got relegated, we managed to hold on to Gray, we managed to hold on to Somerville, we managed to hold on to Rutter, we managed to hold on to pretty much everyone aside from Sinistera, who left on the last day of the transfer window to Bournemouth, and then Tyler Adams as well. But we didn't get promoted. We lost in the playoff final, and then that's when the ransacking happened that summer. We had to sell over £100 million worth of players. So you can kind of sometimes skate away from it at the first season of relegation, but I believe there's going to be a lot of clubs circulating around to see what the situation ends up happening at West Ham. And usually, if it's not next summer, they'll wait until the end of the transfer window when all of a sudden things start getting tight, and then West Ham are like, okay, we actually have to get rid of some of these players. Because I'd be surprised if Fernandes didn't have some sort of relegation clause in his contract as well, or some of these other players in there. But it's basically run by cowboys at the moment, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah.
You dictate what you want from clubs. You create your own transfer values out of thin air. The way Daniel Levy did. 1 second, Harry Kane's a £100 million player, now he's a £150 million player. It's happened throughout the last 10 years.
Different clubs. I remember they said because we were trying to sign Kane, really trying to sign him, Man United were, when the season he went to Bayern, and Daniel Levy went 80 million for Bayern, 100 million for Man United.
Yeah,
he slapped a £20 million tax on going within the Premier League, but
That's
also
normal,
in the
though.
Premier
You
League.
don't really want to sell your best player to a competitor.
Yeah, no,
do you? Like,
I do
it's
get
just a
that.
natural thing. You see that right now in La Liga. Like, you don't want to sell your best player to them for not a small amount, but knowing that you could get even more out of them, because you're obviously going to need to replace that player.
Yeah,
if you're
but
gonna
then,
do that.
but then also at the same time, the only way at the moment to compete in the Premier League is to buy already within the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like, but it just, I think it's...
Is it though?
Huh?
You can buy players from abroad and still compete.
Not to the same level of security. Okay, so for example, to keep a steady floor in the Premier League, where your floor is quite high, to then be able to go and sign the best players from around Europe. If you need to, like, so for example, I think about Man United, we needed to buy attackers from within the Premier League who knew the Premier League to be able to make sure we didn't finish 15th again with Cunha and Mbumo. This summer, you can see Spurs are targeting Premier League players because they know we need to get better in the Premier League, so we need to buy from within the. If Spurs have brought in a centre back on the free from, I don't know, Spain or Germany or Italy or something, everybody going, they might just finish again. But now they've got Senesi, who we know is good in the Prem. They want to sign Van Heck, who we know is good in the Premier League. Brighton are saying that Van Heck is worth 70 million quid. That's what Van Dijk went for.
If I look at Leeds for an example, who got promoted, which was what you were saying, and managed to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Jacobijo was our centre back. He was from Italy. Bornau was from a foreign league. Goodmanson, our left back, was from a foreign league. Anton Stach was from the Bundesliga. He was from Hoffenheim.
Yeah.
Our left winger Okafor was from AC Milan. Our striker
same for
Nemetra was from the
Arsenal.
Bundesliga. The only player we signed from the English league was Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
In our striker
Same
position.
for us. We signed Noni Madueke and Christian Norgard. Everyone else, and Kepa. Everyone else.
But what I'm saying is you already had a fantastic floor
but
of
our
players
floor-
who you knew were good in the Premier League. You don't know.
But our floor, think about it, our floor are almost all foreigners. You know, Gabriel came from French league. You have Saliba, we got him from
Yeah, but
French
Gabriel
league.
took then 2.5
Timber.
or so years to
you
adapt
had-
properly
you had
to the Premier League. You had to
Timber,
wait for
do you know
Saliba
what
a
I
few
mean? Like,
years to
don't get me
actually
wrong,
grow
you have,
enough.
you have Declan Rice in there, you have your academy products in there, but the majority of our team actually all kind of started.
But what I mean,
outside of England.
but then you bought the other players like Gyökeres
Same
and
with Man City.
Hincapié and co.
Yeah.
with your squad already full of players who you knew would do well in the Premier League because they just finished second 3 times in a row. And I'm saying, so for clubs like Tottenham, for example, if you want to get, all clubs like Man United, where you're like, if you want to make sure that you get up to the very top of the Premier League,
But-
the safest way to do that is from buying within the league.
But in the case of Spurs, right? So let's think about, okay, Mickey van der Ven, okay, no, but like Jed Spence comes from English football. Do you know what I mean? Who else am I thinking about? João Palhinha, although he's at Bayern, he came from Fulham. Like, do you know what I mean? He's a Fulham. He's been at Fulham for how long? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even Odegaard, they got him from Burnley, if I'm right to say. Like, okay, there's a few players that they got from other places. Archie Gray from Leeds. Like, they've actually shopped in the English league, but their issue is that they've just tried to cut corners by getting maybe players that aren't ready yet.
Yeah.
The reality is, if you're going to buy someone, you kind of have to, and you have to look at your position and say, right, of course you want to get people for the future, absolutely, but you also need a stable team now. And they've cut corners where they're like, we don't really want to break our wage bill, so we're just going to go and get Archie Gray, who has the potential of being a really good player, but actually maybe we need someone more experienced right now. Like, and that's why they finished 17th back to back.
Yeah.
And that's why this season they've looked at it and said, we actually need experience. So that's why they've gone for Marco Senesi, because he's an experienced centre-back who's had a really good season with Bournemouth.
I think Spurs is just all managerial, to be honest with you, because their squad is definitely not a 17th place squad. Their squad, player for player, band for band, even compared to our squad, who finished 7 points above them. There's no comparison, mate. The money they have circulating in and around their squad is because they went from a defensive, pragmatic manager under Conte. All of a sudden, now we want to play expansive, free-flowing football under Ange. Now we want to go back to pragmatism. Now we want to go to a random Igor Tudor who no one's ever heard of. Now we want to go to, now we want to change things up. They want to keep changing their dynamics of how they want to do it. But you touched on something very interesting. You said, is it the caliber of players in the Premier League? Are they just that much better than everywhere else?
Well, what I wanted to say with that was, you know how we talk about we it's always Premier League fans, and we're always going, how high would Brighton finish in La Liga?
Yeah.
How high would Bournemouth finish in La Liga?
Isn't that more of just like...
And
how
but
strong we are?
everyone
It's how strong
always
we are
says
and how
one of the
weak-
finish
and how
high up
weak
in the
the other
table.
club, isn't it more of like how strong the Prem is because it's a sustainable league?
Yeah.
Compared to like, you look at La Liga, you look at Serie A, you can't spend years being unsustainable leagues and basically only basically backing the big clubs at the expense of everyone else and think, we're going to do the next 20 years being a big league and people want to stay here.
Well,
Like,
technically, that's what the Prem do. The Prem only back the big clubs, let's be honest here.
No, but
if you're not a
in
Man
terms of,
United, if you're not a Chelsea, if you're not a Liverpool, if you're not an Arsenal, or you're not a Man City, good luck spending the money you have. It's not going to happen. It's a closed shop now. They're doing the exact same thing as every other league. And the reason why the quality of the Premier League, and you look at a Brighton or whatever, it's just because we've had so much money for so much longer of a time. It's not because the Premier League is inherently creating better players. It's because smaller clubs lower down in the table have had the ability to outspend clubs in Europe in other leagues, and therefore bring in so many better players. So when you talk about bringing in Premier League experience to get to the top, I actually think if you're one of the top 5 clubs who aren't really inhibited by, or maybe you can throw Spurs in there, who aren't inhibited by PSR or the new PSR, keep forgetting the name of it, and you're allowed to spend a little bit more, then okay, fair enough, buy Premier League proven players. But if you're on a more of a tight budget, I think you're much better off shopping abroad, scouting some great gems, because you're going to get them for £20 million less per player. And when you're on a PSR or whatever restriction where you're only allowed to spend, 80% of what you make, plus an extra £10 million the owner's able to throw in, it's much smarter to maybe buy one Premier League centre-back, one Premier League proven guy, and then go and shop abroad and get people that fit a certain criteria, whether that's height, whether that's physicality for the league, whether that's certain positional plays, they can play in certain formations. I think that's a much smarter play for the vast majority of teams who want to build something, because the deals are just so much better. And that's how the league got to the point it is.
I'm not disagreeing with that, because obviously you have teams like Palace who obviously are not going to have the same amount of money that Arsenal do. But look how well they spent. They went and got Eze, Elise, Adam Wharton, all from the Championship. Do you know what I mean? It's about being smart with your money.
Still within England.
Yeah, but they've still been smart with their money. Do you know what I mean? They've looked at it and said, right, okay, they went and got what's his name, Strand Larsen from Wolves, but like they shop in other areas because they know that, okay, we don't have the same money as Man City or whatever, but cool, we can sell on that. We can sell on the Eze in a couple of years' time for 65 million and then reinvest that into another amazing young talent. Someone like Adam Wharton, for example, who's potentially going to leave this summer for around 80 million. Like, that's a great investment. But then you look at other clubs in the Prem, like Aston Villa, sorry, that's self-inflicted. You can't as a club know that you have a spending limit and then spend 95% of your revenue on player wages. That's up to the club. That's the club's issue. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think that's a league's issue, because how else are they going to compete? That's the only way they can bring these players in to do what they wanted to do, which was compete for league titles. I think this whole rule is stupid, because Arsenal benefited from Premier League money, and Man United and Manchester City and Chelsea benefited from their investment 10 years earlier than an Aston Villa or a Newcastle. They're allowed to spend whatever they want on wages, whatever they want on players, and get themselves up to a certain level to where they're now not really inflicted by the rules. But if a club like Aston Villa or a club like Newcastle want to have a dream of getting into Champions League football and competing for a league title and getting themselves on that level of these other big 5-6 clubs, they have to take a risk like spending 90+% on player wages to lure players in and hope that it works out and take a gamble. That's unfortunately the predicament that the higher ups in the league, including the Arsenals, the Cities, the Chelseas, the Liverpools, who meet in these board meetings with the high CEOs of the Premier League or whoever it may be making these decisions, they have made it a closed shop, and they have forced Aston Villa into that predicament. They forced Newcastle into that predicament. And it's completely wrong, and it's not really sustainable for the competitive football that we want to see in the Premier League.
Why though? I feel like, okay, in terms of Arsenal, we need to remember that we went years with spending almost no money. We had to build a stadium where essentially all of our transfers were getting Petr Cech for free. Do you know what I mean? I remember sitting there, the only signing we made was a goalkeeper. But because we consistently got into top 4, although with that squad that was just awful, somehow Arsene Wenger just was creating magic every season. We were able to have a bit more money to fund in. Do you know what I mean? And I just think those clubs need to look at it and be just a bit more realistic with their situations. When you go and spend 80 million on Voltemada and then you have your manager not playing, and then
55 million on
Elanga, do you know what I mean? Like, and you're sat there and you're saying, oh, we haven't made it any, you're finishing 14th?
Yeah, but how much money did Newcastle have? Why are they not allowed to spend their money?
Yeah, but then
why was City allowed to do it?
Look how they spent it.
No, but why were they not allowed to spend more?
Half of their expenditure this season have all been flops.
But why were they getting outbid by Man United?
Nick Voltemada, big question
I do
mark.
think Newcastle.
Which sort of flop.
I do get your point, James, about Newcastle, but I also think Newcastle shot themselves in the foot massively.
You can't
with the way that
don't
they
get me wrong,
operated.
having to sell Elliot Anderson is unfortunate. I feel sorry for them in that instance. But then you also had the money to say, right, we're going to drop this much on this player, this much on this player, and look what they went and bought, and look where they finished. It was dreadful. Like the whole all around was awful.
But that was after being hamstrung by the Isak situation the whole summer and not being
Yeah,
able
but
to
that
get
happens to every
Ekitike.
club.
And why were they getting out?
Every club.
How were they able to get outbid by a Man United side whose owners have been in debt for the past how many years have they been
400
taking
years,
money out of the club? That side also finished, what was it, 17th or 15th in the league that year. So they weren't getting as much money from Premier League positions. They weren't getting as much money from Champions League places. Yes, I know they're a much bigger club and they're making more money from that sense. But if you add in the ownership money from Newcastle, there shouldn't have been any world in which Man United, after the season they had, not getting the Champions League football money that Newcastle had, that they weren't able to, that they were getting completely blown out of the water by Man United when it came to player wages and stuff.
The wages, yes, that is one of the things. But I think with United versus Newcastle, because we pretty much signed their first choice front three for the summer window.
Yeah.
They wanted Cunha, we signed him.
Yeah,
They wanted
Sesh.
Mbumo, we signed him. They wanted Sheshko, we signed him. All three cases, all the players picked United over Newcastle before any bids were put in, though. So that was the statue thing, and that will be in part down to the wage packages, 100%. But also that was down to the fact that there were Cunha and Mbumo were United fans. And Sheshko, I think his agent, to be fair, would have got a hefty commission. That Sheshko is the one where I can say, yeah, we spent £200 million on a front line, having finished 15th with no Champions League for 2
But
years.
if it wasn't for these dodgy rules, let's have it right, they would have gone to Newcastle. Because how many top players that went to Manchester City when they were rebuilding were City fans growing up? None of them.
None of them, but that's different. Man United have been around for 149 years.
Yeah, but they were taking players off Man United, including Carlos Tevez, who was at Man United.
Yeah.
The Tevez one was stupid. We just never paid.
Yeah.
I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why we didn't do that. To this day, it was so stupid. We got him a 2-year loan, and then Sir Alex Ferguson was like, "Yeah, we're going to sign you, Tevez," and we just never put a bid in.
Yeah.
We just didn't do it. Madness.
We did Firmino plus £1, bruv.
I still don't get how how Liverpool were able to say no to the Luis Suarez thing. You know, the £40 million plus one thing. I don't know the logic behind it. But there was a release clause in his contract, and then Arsenal paid it, and then Liverpool turned around and said no.
Yeah,
How?
they said you had to pay more, and he paid £1 more, which was very smart plays by Wenger. That was criminal that they were able to get away with that.
Was that a 40 million? Like, I don't
What are they smoking over there at the Emirates,
I
man?
don't think that would run these days with the amount of
wouldn't.
stuff in the release
That would
clause
actually-
contract.
that would actually break down
Lawyers,
club
that would have been
relations. I'm not even
mad. Because to this day, imagine, right, Arsenal put in a bid that's the release clause, and a club would just go, nah.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
bro, you agreed to it.
Yeah.
You agreed to it and you signed him. That's what I find mad.
And let's have it
look
right.
at
If
what
they got
Morgan Gibbs
Suarez,
White-
they would have probably won the league.
Look at Morgan Gibbs White, bro. Spurs said, say no more, we'll pay it. And Maranaka was like,
Yeah, no,
nope.
but that was
Like,
crazy.
hell no, you know?
It was a secret release clause that no one was allowed to know about, and it's like,
But it was still there.
and then
And they knew about it.
Morgan's White agent basically just went, yeah, by the way, if you bid this amount in this thing, then they have to say yes. Spurs did it, and they just went, and Nottingham Forest went, how do you know about that? Like, bro, it's in the fucking, it's in the contract. Yeah. C1 Chaos 164 says Knicks in 5.
Yes, big up the Knicks, man. I don't know how Wembanyama... Don't worry, you got blood on your hands, bro. Them referees, that was a disgrace.
And then Cryptic Dino says, bro, no one wants to go to Leeds. You have to build. To be fair, you didn't even mention Leeds.
I didn't mention
but-
Leeds.
No.
I was back in Newcastle
I
once.
do
No.
think, though, you look
Up
at
the
the Prem
tunes.
this season, it has been a competitive season. Like, I don't know why people keep forgetting that. We didn't know who was getting relegated to the last day. Like, genuinely, we didn't know who was going to make it into Europe to the last day. We didn't know who was going to win the league to the second last game of the
I
game
didn't even
of
realise
the
that
season.
Chelsea could drop out of Europe until it
Like,
actually
literally
happened.
on the
I was like,
last
wait,
day-
really?
On the last day, Sunderland, Brighton, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Fulham, who else am I forgetting? They all could have got into Europe. They all Everton.
Yeah, it was
they
all of them.
had, they
Brentford.
all had Brentford all had chances of making it into Europe. Genuinely, like, why are we acting like, oh, this season, you know, teams just walked away. Someone just walked away with the league, or you know, the relegation battle was like the season just gone where all the 3 teams just basically got deleted from the league. Like, it wasn't. It was very, very competitive. So much so, you know, you have teams like a Bournemouth taking points off Man City to help Arsenal win the league, taking points off Arsenal to create more of a title race. Do you know what I mean? Like Sunderland, literally having one of the best home records.
I think it was a season where last season was a season where a lot of clubs came to the medium.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. They were all around the medium. There was
Brentford is definitely getting relegated because they lost their manager, their goalkeeper, their captain. They lost 2 of their best players. And actually, they did really well and nearly made Europe.
But there were no elite teams last season. There were very few players that you can go, that was an absolute standout, like world-class campaign. Only a couple of them, I think. Whereas previously, obviously, in the previous seasons, you'd have like all the wingers going ban for, like Hazard, Sanchez, Salah going ban for ban for ban.
You'd have teams finishing on 97 points and not winning the league.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But the thing is, what you said is
correct. It was because it was even.
Also, you could argue if you finish on 97 points and don't win the league, it was competitive for the teams going for the league, but it wasn't competitive in terms of who else they had to play.
No, I think that was down to a lack of elite teams.
That essentially means you slapped up everybody else and you just missed out based on the person that probably got.
Well, based on another side spending bajillions of pounds and therefore having the deepest squad I've ever seen in my career. But
City?
Man City. Obviously, but the point is, you're correct in terms of the general overall play is competitive, but there's a very, very, very big difference between a club like Bournemouth or Brentford or whoever it may be scraping into the Europa League or maybe having a miraculous season and finishing in the Champions League for 1 year and then the next year falling straight back down to mid-table like we've seen with Newcastle or other clubs. What I'm talking about from a club outside of those top 4 or 5 maybe is you look at a Newcastle or a Villa with investment and you think, you know what, if they could build something sustainable and make themselves a consistent top 3 team competing within 3 or 4 years and start outspending everyone and start building a real proper squad together here to topple the big boys, you're like, maybe one day one of those mega rich owners are going to take over my club and I can dream of us competing on that level. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen anytime soon, and we've seen it with Newcastle and Villa were the last hopes with that, of thinking, okay, let's see them topple them. Let's see Newcastle become a perennial top 4 team, not a team that gets there then falls straight back down.
Newcastle shot.
Okay, like, let's be real. It's still within the same. It's still within that same close shop that are competing for the league every year.
Yeah.
It's either a Liverpool, a City, an Arsenal, a Chelsea who've fallen off, but it will be them, and Man United.
Yeah.
Okay,
aside from Leicester City.
Newcastle last summer, right, they dropped 200 M's?
Yeah, like
which is
but how much did they sell? But they also recruit 100 M's.
They outspent PSG. Like, what does that say?
Yeah,
like we can't.
It's not like the Prem clubs didn't have any money or couldn't spend money.
They got into Europe. They finished 6th place. They outspent PSG.
No, that I agree with. That I agree with. But I'm talking about to the top. I'm talking about when's the last time we've seen a team sustainably topple the top? When have we seen in the past 10 to 15 years, aside from those 5 clubs I mentioned, actually properly challenge for a league title? And I'm not talking about Spurs and Leicester City.
But I do think the example. I think Aston Villa is a good example.
But Aston Villa, literally at one point in December, when we had to play them on like the 30th of December, they were 1 point behind us. If they went and beat us, they would have been top of the league.
No, but my point is they should now be able to kick on. They should now be able to kick on from this position, spend 400 million and go and try and push and try and get a league title.
They probably can.
To the Champions League.
They qualified for the Champions
League. They won the Europa League and they've got into the Champions League. So and they get prize money as well for where they finish in the league. Like,
so if they compete for the league over the next 2-3 years, then I'll eat my words. If they're competing over the next 2-3 years consistently for a league title,
2 years, really.
No, they weren't in the league title race for the last 3 years. Let's be real. They were scraping into Europe.
They've been in. That's growth, though. That is literally growth. You're not just gonna go from a team like just promoted to winning the league. Like you even see it, Arsenal. We are an established team that have never been.
Used
relegated.
to happen back in the day.
Yeah, but we've never been relegated.
We had
look how long it took us to win a league title again. It's not something that you just do. Even the big clubs struggle to do it. Like
1991, it happened. We got promoted from the Championship to the First Division and won it the next year.
And what's happened since then?
What's happened is we missed out on all the Premier League investment. That's what happened.
Hardly
we were in the wrong league. I thought League One was where all the money was flowing in. That was the problem.
Wrong League One. But no, I do think In Aston Villa's case, I get it, and I think they're now fixing their wage bill massively
Yeah,
because
they
that's
have to
hamstrung
fix it.
them big time. But Newcastle, I do think I remember saying it at the beginning of the summer when they missed out on their big targets, and you had that video that came out of everyone being like, "Why would anyone join Man United over Newcastle?" I do think Newcastle
No, but I
tried
said
to
at the time.
they tried to jump 3 steps at once last summer, and it's not worked. If that makes sense. They went, we want to sign the best. And I was like, you finish in the Champions League spots, go and sign players that can keep you in the Champions League spots. And over the next 2-3 seasons, like Man United at the moment, we're still 3 seasons. We're in the position where we just want to sign players to keep us in the top 4 at the moment. We're not trying to challenge for a league title next season. We're going for players that can keep us sustainably in the top 4. And I do think, although I get you, it is true, Premier League, the biggest Premier League teams can spend the most money because they've got the
of a
most
rule
money
they
in the
brought
biggest
in
league.
5 years ago.
But this is why I want to ask you about the
After
new ones.
Newcastle got bought, they brought that law in.
This is the what I want to talk to you about is the new rules that are basically, well, it's the squad cost ratio rules, which is effectively, so just for anyone who doesn't really know, is so PSR is the whole 3-year rolling lot. But you can't lose more than 105 million pounds across any 3-year period. Now it's effectively, clubs can spend up to £85 million on the squad from their total cost. So basically, of all football-related revenues, so be that match shirts, player sales, match tickets, and sponsorships, anything that's to do with money that comes from what happens on the pitch, you can then spend 85% of that, which is probably a little less hamstringy than before. So Aston Villa will be able to spend 85% of the revenue they get. But the interesting thing is actually then once you get into Europe, it actually becomes 70% because UEFA's rules are capped at 70. So even though the Premier League says you can spend 85, UEFA, which is why you couldn't buy anyone in the January window, wasn't it?
Well,
because you'd hit the very, very top.
Is why we didn't buy Hincapia. We did a loan with an obligation to buy. Because we were just like, we could have actually bought him. But
do you remember when PSG did that for
we'd
Mbappe and everyone was like, that's scandalous, and now everyone does it?
But we were like, we could buy Hincapia, but we'd enter into the orange, and you never know what you might need in January, which we didn't need anything.
Yeah, but basically what it is that now club spending is a lot more directly correlated to revenue made. So, for example, it was Newcastle selling Anthony Gordon for £70 million. Kind of in layman's terms, they can then spend about 55-ish of that £70 million.
Now, listen, and I think if that was brought in 30 years ago, that'd be a great rule. But unfortunately, we're too past it, where clubs like City, who are making no revenue, fugazied their numbers for years and now are at a stage where they're making bucket loads of revenue and are now able to comply with these rules. And I think that's wrong. I don't think you can allow everyone to chuck as much money in as you want and then all of a sudden at a certain point say, okay, no more clubs are allowed to do that. Yeah, and because let's be real, when Newcastle got bought by the Saudis, we thought Kylian Mbappe was going there, Neymar was going there. We thought everything was going to happen until they changed the rules. And I hear it. I think it's a great change to the rules, and we'll see how they adjust it over the next 5-10 years. And try. It's better,
but also as well, it means that it does also mean the elite clubs, like the biggest clubs, will be able to spend even more. Well, I think it was last season or the last 2 seasons, Man United have spent if you recalculate it, United have spent 52% of their football-related revenue on transfers. So it actually means United can spend about 30% more than they already have been spending, which is mental.
I don't even want to work out how much we could spend more.
Loads. Especially with the prize money that you've got from winning the league, Champions League final, Champions League semi-final, second.
Like the amount of money we've made.
It does. It unlocks more money. I do think it unlocks more money for other teams to spend, but it also unlocks even more money for the bigger teams.
So therefore, it's creating even bigger of a gap.
So this is what I mean.
Everything is
everyone
brought
can
in to
spend
protect
even more
the
money.
top
And the thing
teams.
is now, when it's like, oh, United can now spend 40 more. It then becomes West Ham are then able to say, okay, you can spend even more money. Cool, we'll increase all our transfer value.
Well, exactly. So all of the extra money that the lower league, the lower table teams are able to spend, are probably they're probably able to spend less money comparatively with the inflation that goes on because everyone's able to spend more money.
That's the one issue that I have, and it's the inflation that I'm just thinking is going to go absolutely nuts this summer because World Cup inflation is going to do things.
Well, they always say you never buy someone off of a World Cup.
Yeah, never buy someone off of the World Cup.
You guys would know that. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea would know that as well.
I think we got away with it with Amrabat because it was only a loan.
But think about Chelsea bought Enzo Fernandez.
That was a great move.
Based off that. But he's good, but he's not worth 100.
Oh yeah, Enzo Fernandez is quality, and for the amount of time they have him, the reason Chelsea are very smart is because they got him for I think, mate. Listen, if you're talking about Anderson or these other players being valued at £80 million, Enzo Fernandez, no, he's not. Enzo Fernandez is 10 times the player. If you're talking about quality on a football, if you're talking about a creator, a finisher, and someone who's going to command a massive sell-on value, he is 10 times the player, and he's 10 times more of a commercial name than Anderson. He's going to sell a lot more shirts. He's going to be a lot better brand-wise. Really? Yes, Enzo Fernandez, come on. Right, we're talking about a top string player
will
here.
Get his move to Man City or Man United this summer. And I do think whoever ends up signing him...
Anderson 8.
An Anderson number 8 shirt...
Enzo Fernandez, let's be real here.
No, but
who's going to have bigger commercial value?
But also, who's going to buy an Enzo Fernandez kit at the moment because Chelsea fans hate him?
Mate, Enzo Fernandez also is just a much better footballer, and he's got a much higher ceiling. And also, the reason that Chelsea have been very smart with it is because they've signed him to a 9-year contract. So when you talk about inflation and clubs saying you can spend whatever you want, if a Real Madrid once again comes circulating around looking for Enzo Fernandez, I'll say, well, listen, mate, we've got him till 2029 or 2030, wherever it is. I want 150 million for him. And they have that power because they have him for so long.
Who wants to buy Enzo Fernandez for 100 million quid? He's going to be stuck at Chelsea.
Mate, if you look at some of the other wages being thrown around at other players...
They're smart enough to miss out on Europe.
He's a good player, but he's not 100 million. That's the reality.
I think, listen, I don't think he necessarily is until you compare him with other midfielders.
Vitinha is 100 million at the moment.
Declan Rice, 100 million quid.
Mate, I'm sorry, if Anderson is worth 80 to 100, Declan Rice is worth 200.
But
yeah, which is why I don't think. Which is why I was saying the other day, I'm not sure about Anderson for 150.
I'd agree with that, but I'm not. I wouldn't want, if I was a club, I wouldn't want to buy Enzo Fernandez for 100 million. Like, he spent his first season as well. You know, Chelsea fans are like, oh, we're waiting for something. Like, he's gotten better, but even now, I wouldn't even want to drop 70 million on him, genuinely.
Well, I remember saying this when the Enzo stuff first came out. When he basically went round, what was it? He said Madrid is like Buenos Aires or whatever. He said, he was home. Like, he reminds me of home, and he was saying, oh, I just like the city, and he was talking about the city and the food and everything. And I was sat there and I did ask the question. I was like, how much would you, if your club was linked to Enzo Fernandez, how much would you be happy to see that value go? So let's say for some bizarre, let's say Leeds were interested in Enzo Fernandez and they were like, we've got 300 million in the bank account that we can spend, and you've dropped 100 million on Enzo Fernandez.
What?
Would you be like, yeah, crack on, let's do it?
Oh my God.
I wouldn't be mad at it, but I think our squad needs more than that. Although he would be a great creative midfielder, so I wouldn't be mad at it, but I'd probably rather go for more of an out-and-out number 10 personally with the money. It depends what your squad needs.
Just theoretically, or let's say you're a Real Madrid fan.
But let's say Real Madrid got rid of Tchouaméni or whatever, and they wanted 100 million to drop on Enzo Fernandez. I think that would be a great signing.
Yeah, but Tchouaméni's more of a 6.
Exactly, but still, they would have the cover with Eddie. They'd have the cover there.
As a fan of a club who needs a £100 million midfielder, like the kind of, you know how every big club's got that 100 million esque midfielder at the moment. You had Gravenberch when he was good at Liverpool. Like, obviously this season bad, he was touching the echelon. Declan Rice, Caicedo, everyone's got these 100 million pound midfielders to try and compete for the titles. If I saw Man United go, we've got 100 million pounds spent on a midfielder here, and we're going to spend it on Enzo Fernandez, pack it up.
I'll put it this way.
This is the Thomas.
If Bernardo Silva left, Bernardo Silva leaving Man City, whatever, you want a replacement, 100 million, Enzo Fernandez, bang.
Enzo Fernandez
perfect replacement.
Touch Bernardo Silva.
No, because I think Bernardo Silva is still a little class above, but Enzo Fernandez still has a lot of talent and ability to grow.
Enzo Fernandez downgrade on Bernardo Silva.
I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm just saying he's not worth 100 million. He's not justified that 100 million.
I just think when you compare the other wages that you were talking about and the inflated wages and people saying 80 million pounds for Fernandez in the Championship, I'll tell you something, Enzo Fernandez is definitely worth more than all of those players combined.
Yeah, but I don't think Enzo Fernandez. I don't think Mateo Fernandez is worth 80 million.
Yeah, he's not.
I don't think Wharton is worth 80 million.
I agree.
I don't think.
Oh no, that I agree. I'm just talking compared to everyone else. I would pay 100 million for Enzo.
This is why I'm so worried.
If you said to me, Adam Wharton, Mateus Fernandez, Enzo Fernandez, Elliot Anderson, you got 100 million. Who are you dropping it on? I'm dropping it on Elliot Anderson. Because to me, he's better.
And then who's next?
Did I just say?
You said Mateus Fernandez, Wharton,
then it's
Anderson.
between Enzo Fernandez and Adam Wharton.
Man, I don't even think they play the same sport. I think he's. I think Wharton's a great player. Wharton is a great
If
player.
Adam
But
Wharton's name was what, I don't know, something Adama Wharton or whatever, you lot would be gassing
Adama
him up, bro.
Wharton.
If he was what? If his name was just Adama, we'd be sat here talking about he's on levels with Pedri, bro. Like that's the reality. He's actually good.
Okay, let's not put
But we're-
Pedri in that
no,
conversation,
but
man.
he's actually very, very good, and we just
No, he's
sit
very-
here
he
and
is
we
very
don't
good.
talk about it. But someone, his name is Enzo. What the hell, fam? If his name was Endo, what? I don't know, Edward Ferdinand, we'd be sat here and be like, yeah, he's all right, because that's what he is. He's all right.
Oh, I think that's harsh, but I'll hear
Argentinian
it.
tax,
It's
bro.
fair enough.
It's true.
How much of like what do you think the average is of transfer fee versus player value? Like, so that might be a bit of a confusing question. Is in like, on average, how much do you think maybe let's say Prem clubs overpay at the moment?
Oh, a lot.
I think it's about
Twice.
40
A lot.
to 50%. Of what a
Might
player is
even be.
worth.
It might even be double in certain
I think
cases.
Other clubs, especially like you get Portuguese clubs, for example, and they're sat there licking their lips because they're just like, we can go and get someone better than that guy that we're going to sell you. Like that's the reality.
This is what-
And
this is
look,
why-
because we kind of live in our own bubble and it's not that deep for Prem clubs because reality is we're the best league, we're the most sustainable league, we're
Yeah.
the richest league. It doesn't matter. Like you can almost, there's every club has a big flop. Do you know what I mean? Every club spends a big amount of money on someone that doesn't end up working out, but it's not that deep.
Yeah, I mean,
because
like,
you're
for
going to make that
example,
back.
we just released Jadon Sancho from his
Exactly.
contract.
Like you have Anthony, we have Pepe. Do you know what I mean? Everybody has that, the one that was just rubbish.
They weren't even that bad.
Exactly, and Pepe weren't even that bad.
He actually weren't.
Weren't
You
even
actually
that
thought
bad.
he was a quality
all
player.
right.
Bad.
He was all right, but it's just because we spent so much. It's just like, is that how much you
It's about
spent?
72 million, wasn't it?
72 million. It was like, oh, you spent that much on someone who
Oh,
was
we got
all right.
so many, bro. We got what?
Yeah.
Anthony, Hoyland,
Ugarte.
Sancho, Ugarte. Oh,
Sancho's the
rough.
only one I understand out of all of those.
And I love Paul Pogba.
Yeah, but Paul
'Cause-
Pogba was a £100 million
Yeah.
midfielder, bro.
No, but I think
one
with
of the most
Sancho-
talented midfielders I've ever
You
watched
bought
play.
him, then you let it go for free. Then you went and bought him again, bro.
Yeah, that
No,
was
but if
stupid.
what makes
Pogba
it
was,
work.
so was Sancho. Because everyone seems to forget
Jadon Sancho,
how good
perfect example.
Jadon Sancho was when he was at
Yeah.
Dortmund. I think he was worth every penny when you bought him. It's just he
Yes.
completely fell off.
But no, yeah,
But
it
you
was
could
one of those ones
argue
that
that
just
for
didn't
Because
work
Look
out.
he
at-
no, not
look at-
Bundesliga tax. He was
What do you
put.
mean,
He
bro?
was no. The actual quality of his play was outstanding.
Yeah, but so
Didn't
was
he get
Henrik
like 30 goal
Mkhitaryan.
contributions
Henrik
that year?
Mkhitaryan got like the 50 goals.
Yeah,
involved.
Mkhitaryan's also a top player.
Yeah. and he
I'm
didn't work
not
out
hearing
either.
this.
but
Don't you
this-
go for my boy Henrique, all right? That's our only good player.
No, bro,
In the history of
when
my
he came
country,
on- when
he's
he-
the only top player we've ever had.
Shout out,
When
Right,
he
don't you
came
go
on-
for my boy
when he
Mkhitaryan,
came on
all right?
against Hull, when
Cutting
he came
close to
on
home.
against, I think it was against Hull. He came off the bench against Hull. I was like, that's Messi. I was like, that is Messi. Do you remember his debut for you? Got 3
Yes.
assists.
Yeah, he's generational, mate.
No, he was fantastic.
Henrik Messi in that game, mate. Sure.
Yeah.
Bruv.
Oh no,
But I just think the Bundesliga is just a whole different conversation because I just personally think that league, in terms of translation to other leagues, is trash.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I'm so sorry.
I've always agreed with you on this.
Especially,
I've always
the
agreed
last
with you on this.
Sometimes.
the last 5 years.
It's so
I
selective.
can think of some good. I think it's good ones.
like
Yeah, well, there are good
Yeah,
ones.
there
Von
are
Yeah.
good
Stack.
Yeah, there are some good.
Ekitike last summer.
Ekitike,
last season,
oh,
first half of
Ekitike,
last
yeah,
season.
that's
But
a
like
good
someone
one.
like Omar
Haaland.
Mormoush, for example, is one of the highest earners in the league, and is
But
about to
he's
get
almost on
shipped.
400k a week.
He's about to get shipped from Man City because he's
Yeah, no,
not
that was
good enough.
ridiculous.
That's
Marmoush
where
was
I
ridiculous.
agree with you about this
was
spending
bought
thing is
from
out of
Borussia
control.
Dortmund to try and help West Ham. He was dead. He went to AC Milan. He's not scored a single goal in the whole season.
Yeah.
Dead. Like, let's be honest. Florian Wirtz, 160 million. Crap. Like, that's the reality. At the moment, the Bundesliga, in terms of
No,
translation to-
Wirtz will be a
No,
top
but
player.
he's- Yeah, but what's he
And-
in your first? If you get paid, if someone drops 100 plus M's for you, there's no excuse. Your first season, you have to bang. I'm so sorry. I
Sometimes.
remember when we bought Declan Rice, people saying he's not scored yet. Bro, it's the third game in. Then he scored against Man
Bro,
United.
I remember.
And he's a 6.
I remember with Pogba.
Exactly.
Everyone was at
That's the
8, 9
expectation,
million
bro.
pounds, and he's not done anything. And he scored a header against Leicester. And he's only scored a header against Leicester. Like I remember the Premier League released a like a little 2-minute montage of his
Shout Uncle Pogba.
debut when we beat Southampton. And I was watching it, being like, this guy was balling out from minute
Yeah.
one. I hate the hate that Pogba
Yeah,
gets.
the revisionism.
Because I think he was so good for us for so long. But everyone hated it because he was
Yeah.
a world record signing and we had never seen a £100 million player land. Well, 8, 9 million, 100 million euros landed.
Yeah.
It was the first £100 million player
And he
to land
had a
in the
lot of
Prem.
defensive. I just don't think he was right for the system. But I think the whole squad was just a
Under
mismatch at that
Solskjaer,
time.
perfect.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Matic next to him, sweeping up.
Yeah.
He was a number 8. The guy was scoring.
the box.
Oh, he was. Oh, I miss it.
Technically,
I
as a
miss him so
midfielder,
much, bro.
generational. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree.
But
Yeah.
just didn't work with the systems you had.
The way he ran that world, the way he ran Russia,
Yeah.
The way he ran, him and Kante,
Yeah,
I can't believe they were both French.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. They had Matuidi in a 10, and they were making Matuidi. He was on the right. Matuidi's on the right wing at one point, and they were making Matuidi look like a baller. That's how good these two were.
Matuidi is a baller, mate.
No, I know, but Matuidi
He
was
was
a
older
good
at that
number
point,
6, and he was 31 years old, wherever it was, running down the right wing because Pogba was. But anyway, what I wanted to ask you for Rocket Rank, just on this topic. So obviously, Rocket Mobile, I think, is a very, very worthwhile deal, right? £60 a month, unlimited calls, text, data, and 20 gigs to use across the EU. It's on the 3 network and the Vodafone network, so you're never missing a second of coverage, plus perks, content, and plenty of other prizes when you make that switch. And on the topic of it being such a good deal, in the last few seasons, you can have a little think here about what do you think have been some really, really good value for money deals that you've seen in the Prem?
It's quite obvious, isn't it? Declan Rice. It's worth
I think
every penny.
Declan Rice is the biggest amount of cash I've ever seen spent, and I
That
can
is
still
worth
go,
it.
that's value for
Yeah,
money.
and
How much? How much was
We
it?
spent
105?
105.
105, and I can genuinely sit there
And
and
you can
say,
just, like,
pound for pound.
From the moment he's
That was a
from
good-
the moment
That was
he's
a great
joined the
deal.
club, he's just like he's one of those signings for Arsenal anyways that I look at as a transformation type of signing. Like even Jesus and Zinchenko, they were transformations in terms of how they took us from like probably just a top 4 or 5 club to a team that's actually challenging.
But if we're talking
Declan
value
Rice
for
has
money,
changed us to like we're winning. the
I'm
league,
not
we're
counting free
challenging.
transfers, by the way. I'm not going to count free
but
transfers.
value for
in
money
there.
is difficult because then if you look at that, like
Erling
Declan Rice obviously worth every single penny,
Erling
right?
Haaland.
Worth every penny. Erling Haaland worth double every
51?
penny.
Yeah.
Ekatike I think worth double every penny because Ekatike if they
too early
sell
to
him.
say.
No, he's well,
I
aside
think-
from the injury.
I think he's
aside from the injury, they could easily sell him for
I think he's
200 million.
brilliant.
They could turn around and sell him
But
200 million.
because of how the season's panned out, it's hard to say at the moment.
Yeah,
But
I can't
do
sit there
think-
and go, Ekatike has been worth every penny. for
Mate,
me.
even after his injury, if they offered you Ekatike for more than what Liverpool paid for him now, you would you would bite your hand off for him.
Specifically United, I wouldn't.
That's criminal.
Because we've already got our striker who I love in Šeško.
Yeah, but he's twice the player Sesko is.
Like
And
Elliot
Sesko's
Anderson.
decent.
Absolutely.
At Arsenal,
No,
could you
I'm
imagine
just-
Ekatike, Thierry Henry-esque cutting in off the left?
Yeah.
Ooh, that would
I
have
think one
match
of the
made in
best
heaven.
signings that I've seen pound for pound in terms of the impact they've had
much to
is
think about.
how much did
Virgil
Palace
van
sign Mark
Dijk.
Gay for?
Virgil van Dijk is up there as well.
How much
Van
did
Dijk's up
City
there.
get Mark Gay for?
So
Cheap.
City got Gay for about
I don't know how much
£4.
Palace.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. If you're talking value for money, that's a pretty
I
good
don't know how
one.
much Palace. What K for? That's a good question. Not really sure.
I want to know.
If we're talking on a cheap hit, Rafinha.
All my days, Michael Elise.
Rafinha for
Yeah, Michael Olise.
Harry Kane.
Rafinha for 21 million.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Now that was a generational
Yeah.
purchase. 21 million. When that was like the same year you bought Pepe for 72 as well,
Palace
the year
bought
after.
Mark Gay for 18 million quid.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he turns into one of the best centre backs in the Premier League and wins them 2 trophies.
Yeah, wins some 2 trophies.
Well, a trophy and a half. Well, 2. Yeah, I can still count this
probably
season's
their
trophy. Yeah,
probably their greatest.
I think that's one of the best transfers I've seen.
That's a
in
great one.
The last
Yeah.
this decade, I'd say, since 2020.
Thierry Henry, mate. Of course.
How much? How much?
That
did
was
you buy
25 at the
Thierry?
time, no?
It wasn't that much. Well,
That was-
I guess
Well,
Money,
25 at the
bro.
time was probably like 150
Yeah, but
nowadays.
yeah,
We, well,
It was
we
fast.
signed Rio Ferdinand. We signed him from you lot for.
30 million or something.
But it was a world record fee, wasn't it? for a
Yeah,
defender?
well, we signed him for a world record
Yeah,
fee for a
11 million
defender
pounds.
and then
Yeah,
sold
then
him
we-
on
yeah,
for
just
2
for a
years
world
later
record fee for a
because we
defender.
went broke, so
But
we
ob-
had to sell him off.
Yeah, but obviously you can say that because he turned into one of the best centre backs in Premier League history and he won. God knows
Well,
how
we
many
would have sold him
titles.
for more, but we were in financial troubles, so we had to let him go for just a small world record
The
fee
small
for a
world
defender.
record fee of about 32
Just like a-
million quid.
Just a 5 million
but
on
I
top.
think Leicester's signings 100% as well. Some of the best
And
transfers.
N'Golo Kante.
N'Golo Kante for 1 mil.
Yeah. Vardy,
Even
they
to
got
be
him when he
fair,
was in low
Chelsea
down.
signing
So.
Kante for 40.
Yeah, not bad. But if we're talking on the cheap, that's why even when I look at Rafinha, as I said, for the time it was, £21 million.
Hold on, I'm being an idiot. Mo Salah.
Salah was how
About
much?
35 million quid.
35 million pounds. That's a good one.
It was a Liverpool transfer record at the time. How mad is it that transfer records, but
to Man City. Don't know how much.
60 odd, wasn't it?
Well, and they made a
Profit.
profit that they probably
What
made
about
a
Alan
profit
Shearer?
that summer because they sold Coutinho for 140.
Yeah.
Salah,
55
Firmino,
million.
Salah,
City
Firmino, and Mane, I think probably cost
55
less.
million in 2015.
Got you Kevin De Bruyne.
Damn.
And you're trying to justify Enzo Fernandez.
Then the way the numbers of the way
Yeah, but
the,
55 million is like what 150 million today.
but I said the way the numbers have moved in recent memory have been crazy.
Yeah.
saying 85 million quid for a player that's been relegated twice in 2 seasons. I know Mateus Fernandes is fantastic, but 85 million, like we got clown for Harry Maguire one.
Mate, Fernandes is not going for 85 million quid, let's be honest.
But it's the fact that they can
Who's
sit
gonna
there
buy
and
him?
say, you know what,
No,
that's
but the
what
thing
I'm
is,
saying.
a lot of
It's
clubs
Jorge
like
Mendes
him.
as well,
That's
by the way.
thing. Yeah, a lot
Yeah, they
of clubs
like him. They don't love him. They don't love him.
Like him. Like,
A
that's
lot of
the
clubs
problem.
like a lot of
That's why
players.
the price is so high at the moment, because there's about 5 clubs that are actually interested in
Yeah,
it.
but they're taking the mick, mate. You could get 10
I really think they are
Fernandeses
taking
for that money
it
in
is
the
taking the
thing.
mick.
It's
isn't
giving
it?
like, Tyler Dibbling. That's a
Oh, I
perfect
thought that was the
example
worst
of,
one.
He had a great season with good season with
Southampton.
Southampton. And they were like, we want 100 mil, and everyone was like, we are not paying that much for a 17, 18-year-old kid, and he went for 40 million. We've not
40 mil, we've
40
barely
million
seen
to
him
Everton,
since.
and he's never seen him since.
And by the way, have
he
you seen that
looks like.
Burnley have won a case against Everton for FFP stuff? So, what's the lowdown about this? Is that Burnley went down
Yeah.
and the season that Everton broke the rules.
Yeah, and
so therefore, Burnley are saying that they would have stayed or like should have compensation because Everton stayed up by breaking the
that's fair.
rules. And it's about 35, 40 million quid.
Well, join the club, mate. Same thing happened to us when Everton broke the rules. And what did they do? Oh, they deducted them points the next year or 2 years later. That didn't help us, did it, mate?
Yeah.
It's a load of absolute codswallop.
Yeah.
Same way City haven't been charged. Same way all these clubs haven't
Oh,
been
the
charged.
City one. You know, it's not even
Well,
115.
I even think the
130.
Chelsea one is
They've added
bad.
more charges
Yeah.
to Man City.
Yeah, it's like
Chelsea
100.
as well.
Do you think City are just saying, you know what, we're just going to keep racking up charges so you can never actually charge us? Because they'll add another one and they'll just delay it,
I just think
delay it.
Whatever the Prem do, they have to be very serious and think about what they're going to do. Because if you are lenient with Man City, you open the door to everybody else. You open the door to all the big clubs, even the smaller clubs,
Yeah.
to say, fine then, you've got one club here that's got 135 charges. If you let them get away with it, if they're found guilty, then what's stopping me from going and doing the same thing or doing other things?
Because they're not in that
It
position.
becomes a currency.
Money.
This is the only thing about the new
No, but
rules.
that's the point. One
that
point, Man City weren't in that position.
The
but
big clubs
they
will.
allegedly
The small
were-
clubs will get punished.
but
The small
allegedly
clubs will
they
get
weren't.
punished. The big clubs
Yeah.
won't.
The
But then I also
punishment for
do
small
think if
clubs
you're a
will be
small club-
comparatively higher
Yeah.
for the club
But if
than
you're a
it will be
small
for
club
Man
and let's
City.
say Man City get away with it, right, and then maybe like 5 years time or 10 years time, Leeds do something similar, and they're punished for it. Couldn't you sue?
We
the
already
Prem?
were punished for it. We got
You could sue the
relegated
Prem.
to League One
Yeah.
and put into administration because of it.
You should sue the Prem because essentially you've
It's already
slapped the
happened.
wrist of somebody else and then just said, "Nah, actually, you're 10 times worse."
Yeah.
They have to be very, very. They have to think very hard about what they're going to do.
What like, I remember what I said that I think would be the most adequate type of punishment is a point deduction, like 60 points or something.
I don't think that's enough. Like,
Or something,
if we
okay,
sat here saying-
let's say a 200-point deduction,
Let's be
but
serious.
spread it over seasons.
Nah.
200-point
then-
deduction.
No,
200-point
because
deduction for
that's
30
still-
or like 40 points for
That still
5 seasons in a
benefits them
row.
because they're still in the Premier League making money. Even if you're not getting in the Champions League, you're still making money off the Prem. You're still part of the Big Six making money. Like, no, if they're found guilty, they should be relegated. They should be stripped of their titles because you financially doped your way into winning all those leagues.
Yeah, but then should the same not happen to Chelsea?
Yeah, and I agree. I just think if you've broken those rules, essentially what you've done is you financially doped. That's the reality of what it is. So if the Prem go, oh, we're just going to give you a points deduction, they've taken the easy route out because essentially Man City still make Premier League money, they still make TV money. Do you know what I mean? They can still come back from that. Like,
Yeah.
you should actually be relegated. Like,
As in,
that's the reality.
You want a punishment where they
Because essentially-
almost can't come back
Think
from
about
it.
all the teams that would have won things, even a team like Spurs, Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool.
Yeah, man, winning
Think
like
about
2
all
more league
those clubs,
titles.
and think about all the teams, the FA Cups, the Carabao Cups, the Champions League. All those clubs, essentially, if they're found guilty, are being cheated out of those things.
And then what does that do for Pep, legacy-wise?
Nothing.
Well, I think
Nothing,
I
you
don't think
reckon?
it does anything because really and truly, this is a off the pitch thing. What he did on the pitch, you can never take away. But I just think off the pitch, that's where you look at the board of Man City, the owners of Man City. That's a different thing to what the players do. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's-
Nothing will be taken away from him. It's just like when people used to try and make that stupid argument. Oh, if you didn't have Messi, Xavi, Busquets, and Iniesta,
Yeah,
what
but
player
he
would he
did.
be? He made Busquets. He brought
Yeah.
Busquets
Yeah.
from the second division up into the first team, and everyone was like, "Why are you
Like-
bringing this Busquets kid in?" And he turned him
Came from
into
Barcelona
a world
B, bro.
beater.
Yeah.
He turned him
He
into
came
a
from
world
Barcelona
beater.
B and said,
Yeah.
"Say no more. I'm going to become the best manager ever."
Yeah,
And
no,
then-
no. You
Yeah.
can't take it away.
You actually can't
You
take that
work
away.
with what you're given. If someone tells you you can spend 200 million extra, you're going to spend 200 million extra.
Went to Bayern, did a treble.
I think the solution is just let everyone dope. Let everyone
No,
dope.
I just think, look,
That's like,
Open the
that's
door to
basically
everyone
the enhanced
because everyone
games.
at the top. Yeah, but everyone at the top. Yeah, but that's pretty much. Arguably, that's what the Olympic Games is, anyways. Let's be real here. It's just all
Possibly. Who
hush,
knows?
hush, hush,
It's
hush.
just better done.
Allegedly, but what my point is that allegedly all of these top clubs are going to find a way around it anyway. So just let everyone do it.
Yeah, but
just wait to see what Chelsea do.
but
and
look at
copy 'em.
other clubs that have, done that, and it's kind of like coming back to bite them. Like you have a team like Barcelona for years have spent incredulous amounts of money. Now they're broke.
Yeah.
Like it does actually catch up. And look at Juventus; they obviously were actually relegated for cheating. Like those things actually do catch up with you. And I just think the Prem just need to make sure that whatever they do, you're willing to stand on that. Because if you let Man City get off lightly, then that's your fault for what everybody else is going to do. Do you know what I mean? You can't be sat here talking about, oh yeah, we're going to let this person sell hotels and a women's team and do all this back understanding stuff.
So
and then you're going to
it's-
punish potentially Leeds, Burnley, whatever, Bournemouth, the smaller clubs who are like, well, they've gotten away with it. It's a loophole. We'll do that as well and punish them. No, you just have to be fair all around.
Yeah. So the other couple of things that are coming in, the only issue I have with this, the CSR squad cost ratio thing, is that there's a little bit of a currency to breaking the rules that they've introduced. So what it is you can spend up to 85% of your football related revenue on transfers and that. But then you can spend between 85 and 115% of your revenue, but then you just get heavily financially punished. And then if you then break 115%, you then get a 6-point deduction with another 1 point deducted for every 6.5 million over that. And slightly there's a currency because a club could just go,
I'll take the
"You
6
know
points
what?
and buy an extra player.
I'll take the 6 points and buy Mbappe."
Yeah.
Whatever. So like, there is.
He's gonna get you 10 points.
There is slightly a currency to it, which is the only thing that I'm looking at, which is a bit like
6 points is nothing, mate.
Yeah.
For an extra 30% of revenue or whatever it is.
So
Easy.
you can spend an extra
Depends on
30% up to of it with a
Depends what
heavy
club you are.
financial levy. But
Yeah, for certain clubs,
and then
that's like one extra 200
if you're
million.
Man City and you go, okay, we're actually going to go over to 92% here, because when we go and put that 200 million pound in for a bid in from Mbappe. Oh yeah, we've also not spoken about Julian Alvarez thing. I just
wow.
realised. How disappointing is that?
No, basically, in short, everyone wins but Barcelona.
Yes.
Real Madrid, Florentino Perez does what he promised. Atletico basically have priced out Barcelona.
Yeah.
Buying Julian Alvarez and get to keep him.
Alvarez
it's a
wants to
win-win.
leave.
And then Barcelona just like.
I would say
probably they're thinking,
Alvarez doesn't win either here because he's been completely used. He's been
signed a contract, mate. Should have thought about that. That's just the reality.
He should have thought that Perez is going to do something mad.
No, you signed a contract with Atletico Madrid, so you're an Atletico Madrid player.
Right.
And that's the problem when you splash 70 odd million on Anthony Gordon.
Yeah,
That's where your problems now come in down the line.
Exactly. Should have just saved that piece for Julian Alvarez and got Marcus Rashford. But no, they want to do all the. Want to go and get.
I think
flipping
if
Van Mullen.
Rashford has a good World Cup this summer, I think Barcelona are going to end up having done us a favour because we're just going to get him for more than 26.
I already see that. I already see the Marcus Rashford links to Arsenal. I just see it happening. So I just.
You're going to have to put some serious money on the table. Because from Arsenal, he wouldn't accept a wage. He wouldn't.
Marcus,
he's on 325 grand a week at the moment.
Not going to happen. Like you a lot. He's a cool guy.
That's what I'm going to say.
You're joining my club.
I think the reason that Rashford won't join someone like Arsenal or something is because he wouldn't accept a wage reduction from a club like that. Whereas he agreed to a wage reduction with Barcelona.
Yeah.
He agreed to about 20% deduction.
Yeah.
From Barcelona, and then Barcelona still turned around and said no, and then dropped 70
fair.
M's on. The photo of him talking to Anthony Gordon in the England camp, I find hilarious.
Well, 20% is still ridiculously high wages, though.
Yeah, he's still about
100,
150
They just got rid of
quid,
Lewandowski. You don't want to have to replace him with
270
Marcus
grand a week or something like that.
Yeah.
It's our fault because we're handing him a 5-year deal on 300 grand a
Yeah.
week.
I think he stays on the
He just scored
continent.
30 goals in a season.
If I'm Rashford, I stay on the
He did the
continent.
most Salah on you.
Yeah,
Avoid the UK press.
Yeah, pretty much.
did
He
a
ain't
did a
in
Rashford one.
he's not in the squad. But that's pretty much wraps up to the end of the show.
Yeah.
That went really quickly, you know. I had good
flew
fun.
by.
Let me know what you guys think about everything we've just spoken about. Obviously, if you want to check out the Rocket Mobile deal, either scan the QR code in the bottom right side of your screen, or if you're watching on YouTube, click the link in the description to learn more. I'm on it. It's fantastic. If you're going away, if you've got away games, holidays this summer, it's a fantastic deal. Apart from that, Kenya, thank you very much. Thank you very much as well, James.
you.
It's been a pleasure as always. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. to go through all the latest news and preview the World Cup. Cheers.
Come on, mate.
What's wrong
The
with
Don
you?
doesn't
Are you
sound
some
happy
kind of
there,
idiot?
does he?
You got to do better.
Sounds like
Sounds like someone's getting fired in there.
The hell's wrong with you lot? Your levels are dropping.
Tie in there.
Mate, I think Ty might be getting the old tic-tac.
That's just appalling.
What, out
That's
of the door?
poor.
Getting the elbow, mate, yeah.
What, latest sunshine?
Yeah.
We're good.
Hopefully.
The Don's not happy.
Ty, you alright?
We're in a title race. You've got to be putting chances like that away.
Rocket Mobile gets you unlimited data, calls and texts for just £16 a month. Plus your invite into the Rocket Perks programs. It's the plan for the real fans.
Hi, I'm Dr. Andre from Oxford Natural. If you're looking to make a change, improve metabolism, energy, sleep, take Optimum Day and Optimum Night.
These have helped me so much in my weight loss journey. The Optimum Day helps you with your metabolism burn during the day, and the Optimum Night helps you to have a good night's sleep. These have been brilliant for me. And if you're interested,
Take our 90-day challenge.
click the link in the description and you can get 70% off with your first order.